G'day, Poggers, and welcome to another episode of the PogState. For some reason, an extra Australian addition to the intro. Yeah, I'm getting some looks. Guys, calm down. All right, I'm Alice. This is Valdez. This is Chronicler, and this is Wolf. And we have all collectively had about an hour's sleep. It is going to be a bit of an unhinged one. I hope you guys are ready for an exciting ride, because we are definitely. Because we missed a week, unfortunately, and I do have something to read out, because I don't trust myself to actually remember things. I'm just going to read it to make sure that I don't mess it up. And I've got my reading glasses. Thank you very much for reminding me, Valdez. Here they are. Don't know whether that's going to work in post-production. All right. As you probably know, the LCK is experiencing DDoS attacks, and it's been affecting the player performance to the point where they cannot play. And we've had to pause the game almost indefinitely. We've been implementing numerous measures, but to make sure the problem is well prevented, we have been broadcasting after pre-recording the matches, as you guys may have known from this week's or the previous week's matches. We're really sorry for the inconvenience it has caused, and for more information, please check the LCK's official social media accounts. X, I think, is the most up-to-date at the moment, or Twitter, if you use its correct name. We're also sorry we had to postpone the PogState episode for a week as well, because, quite frankly, if we were to have recorded the PogState, we would have had to do it in the middle of Game 2.
But it would have been a legendary episode, because that was after we had a 5-hour pause.
Yeah, no, or it could have been during a 5-hour pause, which could have been
hindsight,
even more hectic.
I just don't think I would have been able to really judge DRX, D+, or Kwangdong or Bro, though, at that moment. So just for PogState integrity, I do think it was a good idea.
PogState integrity is extraordinarily important. And speaking of which, we have to take a little bit of a trip down memory lane, because this episode is all about recapping round one, talking about what the results are, and being exceptionally sad if your name is Atlas and you have to think about your predictions from the very first week.
Or if you like KT in any manner or fashion.
Yes, unless you think that they're mid, in which case you nailed it.
I actually think that you were right on the money right from the get-go. You were like 50-50, and guess what? They're one game off of a perfect 6-6-0 game score.
Yeah, and I said 50-50, and I was preaching it the whole time, and then decided to pred them in first. Like, what is wrong with me?
Because you thought that they were going to flip 50-50, but flip it the right side.
Yeah, I don't know. But I went for an outlier. That's not how that goes. If they're going to be, like, just in the middle the whole time, flipping either way, then it generally averages out, doesn't it?
You could have gone, like, 3rd, 5th, or 7th, but you went first. It's really weird.
It's super
weird.
weird.
Warn you, though, right?
I don't think I would have listened, so...
You wouldn't have listened.
No, I think it's fine
it
either
doesn't
way.
matter. Nothing we did would have done would have changed anything.
No, I just wanted to do it for the gags, and it just really backfired, and now I'm slightly regretting it. But it's also fine.
So
you know,
we're going to use the current standings, which are after week 1, but I think they're pretty representative of how round 1 went as well, right? We've had a few round 2 games rather.
yes.
And by week 1, he means week 1 of round 2.
Of round 2.
Yeah.
So we're at the end of week 6 now.
Indeed.
And I think that it wouldn't have really changed our opinion of any of these outside of like the Kwangdong second match, I guess, was technically outside of it. But outside of that, I don't feel like there's been any new information that has...
No, I think the Bro upset, because it came at the very end of round 1.
It did, and then
so
and then it
the fact
again.
that happened again is not a surprise when it happens again, because it
Yeah.
was proven that it can happen.
So 2 10 teams?
Yeah, I think that's not a surprise, is it?
No.
Well, I don't know.
I did say that as I have Nongshim in 7th.
Like a lot of us in our week 1 predictions, we had Nongshim relatively high, at least 7th place. I didn't expect them to be 2-10. I also didn't expect Fearex to be just 1 game ahead of them and then be a massive gap between the next team. But it just feels like our standings at the bottom are kind of like we got 4 teams really struggling and then everybody else. So
Fearex also has a worse game score than Nongshim.
Yeah, Fearex have been getting pretty religiously 0-2'd for the last 7 matches in a row.
Yeah. I was pretty surprised that Bro won 2 games, 2 series. Not necessarily when we first made these, but that was one of the big surprises for me. They actually kind of turned it around a little bit. I know that's not that sounds really crazy to say, because 2-10 is not like something to celebrate, But for Bro right now, actually, it kind of is.
I mean,
When you
No,
increase
no,
your
you're
match
right,
wins
you're
by
on point. It was-
50%, I'd say it's pretty good.
It was cause for celebration compared to like week 1 and 2.
Yeah, they turned around. Cars turned around a little bit. There's something there. The Bros have something there. They changed their bottom duo, which was pretty significant, and I think that helped quite substantially. And with how everything is looking right now, they could spike again before the end of round 2, and they could end up jumping up to 7th place. Like, that's not out of the question. I don't expect it, but anything between FearX and Bro right now, totally up in the air. Absolutely anything could happen.
I would 100% agree. I think the other big surprise is probably just the Quandong Freaks. Before, their collapse against Bro, sometimes the Giga Chads just get you, Maybe we can just give
Twice.
them a pass for that. Yeah, twice. But before their collapse, they did definitely make this incredible run that did look absolutely amazing before that happened. So I guess we do need to talk about that as being a big highlight of round 1, right?
It has to be. Even with them dropping 2 close series to Brion and I think kind of showcasing some of the unfortunate mid-season CV Max team collapse, as we have seen many a time in the past. They still are, even at their worst, even with the losses to Bro, as we saw, I think, in their Nongshim series, still a level above that. But the real thing is, again, the game score. Like, I don't remember the last time that we've had this clear of a gap when it comes to game scores between the cutoff in 7th and 6th. It's actually... Kwangdong is definitely, I'd say, the worst out of the playoffs teams, but I also feel like they're so far ahead of any of the non-play, even with their loss to Bro, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
They beat KT and DK, right?
Yeah.
They didn't beat T1, Genji, or Homalife Esports.
No.
So, but they beat everybody else below them as well. So very comfortably right there next to KT.
Except for Bro.
Except for Bro. Yeah, I mean, I guess that does count.
That did happen.
But yeah, it's a surprise to see them doing this well. I honestly thought there was, at the beginning of the season, like after week 1, I thought it was going to be like, okay, we have a left side and a right side again, where it's like east and west, and it's a very clear divide, but it's not really the case. We kind of have like playoff teams and then the rest of them at this point. And then obviously there's some gaps at the top with T1 and Genji kind of ahead of everybody else, but
2.5 team region.
yeah.
But I mean, I think
2.5.
there's 2 very clear tier breaks, right? And it's after Hanwha Life and then after Kwangdong, and there's a pretty clear gap, I think, as well between T1 Genji and Hanwha Life as well. But I think the biggest ones, right, are between 3rd and 4th and between 6th and 7th. And we didn't know this after week 1, like when we were doing our original predictions and we were talking about what we thought was going to happen. And obviously a lot of those predictions are based on what we think teams are going to do in terms of growth. And I think we're all kind of surprised by how little some of the teams grew in the time that was given throughout the round. And I think this has been, in my opinion, one of the worst seasons of LCK in terms of coaching improvement during the spring split, because Chronicle likes to talk about spring is often a tier list season, and it has been in the past. But usually that's like first half of round 1. Maybe it finished, kind of getting closer to the end of round 1. But by round 2, you kind of see, okay, this team started off a little bit shaky, but they really bounced back. For FearX, Nongshim, DRX, and Bro, minus Bro's like tiny glow up when Kwangdong kind of messed that up. I haven't really felt there's really growth there. I haven't really felt like I've seen FearX, Nongshim, or DRX grow substantially in any way. In terms of understanding their compositions, improving their overall drafting. Because every now and then you see like Sylvie, like, oh, nice. Or like Closer, I was like, oh, that's a classic Closer. Good game there. I'm like still waiting for Rassel to come back. He had like that one game, but I want to see like not just the one game where you're like, oh, I want to see like the season of the team growing back to what we thought by this point they would be at. I don't know if it's because the coaching staff isn't identifying weaknesses or improving championing pools or explaining win cons, but these teams just seem so lost compared to DK, KT, Kwangdong Freaks. And those teams are just mechanically behind and not as clean and crisp as our top 3. But they know what they're doing when they draft a composition. The bottom teams, they lock in the champions, but I don't know if they really understand what those champions' roles are a lot of the time. It feels really frustrating to watch a scaling comp all in on a fight on Bubs, when it's like, no, you can't. You're supposed to fight like in 10 minutes.
Smolders. That happened today.
Oh,
That
dear.
was also D+.
Okay, I got a glass half full. This is for any of my chroniclers in the chat. I got a glass half full for you. Because I actually think that there has been some notable improvement for a lot of our lower tier teams. I think that, like, especially, like, if you have a look at DRX week 1 versus now, they're actually playing a lot more around Teddy. They're drafting a lot more around Teddy. And him and Pleta are actually winning some lanes now, you know? The problem I see is exactly what you're talking about. And I think it's the fact that the rest of our teams have gotten back into the groove of the LCK as well. Like, we remember the debut game for T1, right? They happy game against Gen G, picking up Belveth and stuff like that, having a good time. But it really feels like we've gotten to the business part of just making sure we lock down playoffs and get to the best position as possible in the spring season. So I think that a lot of those, like, happy fun time, like, spring season, yay, is kind of coming to a close, and we've got a lot more, like, seriousness and no, we're just gonna smash you.
Crying sad time for the teams I mentioned.
Yeah.
before.
It's the Eastern sadness
Yeah,
that we like to call it.
I want to echo that. I think DRX and Bro look infinitely better, which is because of how rough they looked in the first couple of weeks.
Infinitely more than 0.
Exactly, which is a great little math trick. But it is also true, I don't think that Nongshim have really undergone everything except when they changed Call Me for Fiesta, because Call Me has regressed. And Fiesta looks like he's exactly the same, which was enough to get Nongshim wins every now and then, just like last year. I'm sure they're awaiting March 29th when Calyx turns 17 with Betacraft. So that's not in time for this season, but come summer, I would be shocked if he doesn't make it up. Because Nongshim, if you don't watch Challenge, Nongshim Challengers team is really, really good. And he's a large part of that. At the same time, for T1 and Genji, it just feels so elementary. And it's because it shouldn't really come as a surprise because these teams are exceptional. T1 only lost while picking AD Cannon Top and Belveth to Genji, right, in the 3-game series. And Genji only lost to
By letting Senna through? Yeah.
Senna.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready to say that because I feel like it would do a disservice to KT. But now
We're happy to do that
I think
now,
now
yep.
everyone's
Yep,
with me, right? Like
Yeah.
they lost 2 games to Senna. They had a really bad early patch read and they just got absolutely bopped. And then we saw them face off again, and it was murder.
It was the most not close.
Yeah. Hanwha Life, I think there is still, as we pointed out, it really, I feel like it's also hard to make arguments as to how teams could jump tiers. With, I think, exception of Hanwha, who, if the meta goes their way and Zeka can keep getting either Azir or his comfort picks, I think that actually makes them a genuinely, like, this team could be good enough to win a playoffs. I think for them, they're only one, like, which we've seen a little bit, of the meta shift, actually working out for Zeka decently well. For DK, KT, and Kwangdong, who I think, even though right now in score aren't that far off, I do think KT really got boomed by the schedule, more so than a lot of the other teams.
They should be looking a little bit better moving into the week that is forthcoming, right?
They will. Yeah, because they faced off against Genji, Hanwha, T1, and DK.
Yeah.
Back to back, right?
And the DK series was honestly the most coin flip of the series.
Oh, yeah.
ever.
Those teams are just the same. I don't know who ends up in 4th, who ends up in 5th.
How many times in the LCK, in a single series, do we get back-to-back Elder Flips? Or at least 2 Elder Flips in a series? It just does not happen that often.
No, there's a reason why that's challengers, baby.
Exactly.
That's LCK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we usually yell, "That's LCK, baby," when it's a 0-0 at 23 minutes. And it's like just 2 dragons are taken, one team
What's
has
our
Herald
latest
control.
First Blood on record? It's like 38 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
That's our LCK right there. Oh,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the 0-0 kill score, like 2 dragon lead, 2.2k gold lead. Like,
Costers
that's
have
LCK,
already
baby.
gotten into 2 different philosophical conundrums. That's how you know.
Oh God, yeah, that was definitely a series that made me realize that yes, D plus and KT, they're right there. They're 4th and 5th. Yep, that's where they are. They might
So-
be, I think that they might be able to beat Kwangdong Freaks and the ones below them.
But they also have too many core issues to ever see them be a real
Yeah.
threat.
I do think that DK looked a lot better than KT as far as the mental hurdles that they had to jump through. I think that KT are looking like they really are taking it rough, like this string of losses that they do have in a row. They're also a huge momentum team, and the consistency just does not exist, even a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it's just crazy how you can have the team that we saw today compared to the team that we saw utilizing Senna Nautilus, yes, but they also played really well. And also in the series with against D+, there was that moment in the mid lane where all of the mechanics came together. They were like an orchestra playing in perfect unison with POG finding this gorgeous angle. They get these picks one after the other. The seismic shove from BDD is like a pirouette. It's gorgeous. And then they just fall flat on their face, like immediately afterwards. And that looks like they don't even know who each other are. Like, it's crazy.
So, I think that D plus KT series that was recorded
now.
today. It's actually weirdly enough not live yet. Even like it's coming live now as we're recording this, but
It's being alive right
yes,
now.
yes. Anyway, that series, it's hard to contextualize time-wise, is, I think, the biggest example of how both of these teams know they are better than their results, know their potential is higher than what they've been able to show us on most given days. And we have seen them both showcase, when they play against weaker teams, stomps, clean macro, good mechanics, good synergy, no fear, no hesitation. Well, they played against each other in week 1, and then when they play against each other now in week 6, there clearly were some issues. There were some confidence issues. It felt like there were some commitment issues in terms of, should we fight here? How far are we going to push this side lane? And just kind of some misjudging. And both teams became so fearful of actually committing to anything because they don't want to lose. They don't want to be the team that lost to D+ and then dropped down to 5th, or don't want to be the team that lost to KT and dropped down to 5th. That I feel like they just couldn't actually play to their best. And that same issue happens against the 3 teams above them as well, where they're like, I know I can beat Hanwha, I know I can beat Genji, and KT did, once. And they're not able to get it together. That means I don't think these teams are going to be able to have a run through playoffs unless they fix this issue, because they will have the same block. They might have the same block against Kwangdong if they face off against them in the first round.
There's a world where Kwangdong Freaks go to playoffs at 6-12.
Yeah.
There is a world.
It's
actually.
not even that unlikely, right?
I mean, if they lose every single game from here on out, is it 6-12 actually? Is it yeah, it is 6
Yeah,
and
6 and
12,
12.
right?
Yeah,
18,
6
18
and 12,
series,
yeah.
yeah.
There's 3 more
So
weeks.
Yep.
6 more series. If they lose every single one of them, which isn't likely, but if they do, they could get it in 6th if everybody else below them does even worse.
They just need to do like a lot of
Which-
winning against each other to ensure that none of them pulls out ahead.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, with the fact that we do have this 2-10 conundrum towards
Yeah.
the bottom of
And
the
again-
stand,
and
and
then
the 7
11 and
losses in a
1
row
on the other
Fear X.
side.
Yeah, but also FairX, like again, how I do know, but their game score is worse than Nongshim.
Yeah, because they only win in 3-game series, and then when they lose, they
It's always
lose real
2-0.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nongshim take
impressive.
games here and there, and
So I think we did a little bit of a rookie look at a while back. That was just after Bullet debuted, and he was actually really good. I feel like could be fun because I feel like Perfect, for example, has actually really stepped it up. I feel like he really isn't the weak spot that he was for KTs in the first couple of weeks, which is really cool.
I've got a new front runner. His
Yeah, who?
name.
It's
His
Paulo.
name starts with
It's
P and ends
Paulo,
with
yeah,
you,
of
baby.
course.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's actually for me, honestly, like as far as like turnaround for the team, it was Bull, but then he lost back to back to your boy Polu. So obviously that's
He
what
got
takes pole
Polu'd.
position. That's how it works. It's king of the hill when
takes-
it comes
he
to
takes
the
Polu
rookies.
position.
or is it the circle of suck?
Well, the circle of suck does in fact exist. This is actually gorgeous. We have a full circle, and it's really beautiful.
Yeah, because Lucid did beat Perfect today.
Oh yeah, that's true.
and then Perfect lost to Bull.
yeah,
Palu then beat Perf. Oh,
so there's a circle of suck as far as the rookie
And
of the,
Bro,
the
and-
split
and-
is
yeah.
concerned as well. Yeah,
interesting. Food for thought.
yeah.
I'm not ready to crown it a rookie of the year.
Well, no,
At this moment
no,
in
but
time.
I
No,
think
it's
that-
just
it's
like
March,
continuing
it's
the
close enough.
conversation.
Yeah,
you know,
the
to-
conversation makes me uncomfortable
So-
at this point. I'm like not ready.
Yeah,
It's not clear. It has been very and by the way, I don't mean the player clear. I mean it is
I was
not.
gonna say I agree with you. It's not clear.
He's
Yeah.
also not a rookie, but usually with rookie of the year, it's very obvious.
Can I vote for Pays? He's still a rookie, right?
He
he
was
is
a
a
rookie.
royal roader.
He has been a rookie, so I think you can
just
vote
wanted
for
to
him.
tilt
I'm going to
Wolf
vote for
'cause-
Faker then, because he was a rookie as well. I remember
Yeah.
that.
Faker's still a rookie.
Yeah.
Go on.
Who won?
I want to talk about Hanwha for a second because I
Go
think
for it, man.
Zeka's he's leveling up a little bit. Like, yes, weaker opposition, but some of the stuff he's doing, I feel like last year and a lot of the beginning of this season, we'd see him have like a game-changing Yone ultimate, but you're like, oh, he always is on Yone only. But he's kind of doing it on his ear a little bit now. He's widened his Birth of Champions a little bit. He's not just getting Zeka a Kali counterpick, R5, and we're like, well, that's all he can do though. But I feel like he's looked a little bit more versatile in the last few weeks. And so, I feel like where Hanwha is right now is where like KT was last year spring, where we're like, oh, this team might, randomly have that sick playoff like game 5 against T1, and we're like, oh, is this team actually ready? And then we're like, no, they're not, and they lose, and it's Gen G versus T1 finals like every single time. But
Oh yeah, that's.
but I
pretty
think
big.
that is like
It's gonna happen.
maybe Hanwha could reach that ceiling of like, oh, surprise, good playoff run. Where maybe we feel like it's hope. They lose, but it's double limb. Maybe they can make the run back.
Yeah.
I feel
They have
hopeful for this
Doran
team
and
right now.
Peanut. It's like I actually think that's almost like, is that more powerful than
And
the Gen G
Viper
T1
and Delight.
curse? But like, no. What I'm saying is like the fact that Peanut and Doran in domestic finals just reach an extra
Yeah,
level
no, they're-
almost every
they're-
time.
They're exceptional.
They just need to get there, you
Yeah.
know? Like, they might not even get there. They might just be gate-kept by T1 or Gen G or whoever is
But
in
they
the
will
lower
make it to
finals,
the
so-
playoffs because they've already
Well, they'll make the
qualified,
playoffs,
so-
but, like, domestic finals, if we're talking about that.
Oh, right, yeah.
If they even make it, because
If
I think
they-
it will just be Gen G T1.
If they end up facing off against T1, I actually think they have a better shot than against Gen G. Gen G to me feels just like the same team but better.
Yeah.
I just feel like they never ever.
I mean,
win
also
that.
like all 10 of those players when they go into all of them have like all of the history, like that beautiful graphic that we had set up as well. Like there is almost every single player has played with every single other player except for Zeka.
he's just
He's
alone.
just existing.
It's fine. We
you
can
know?
pull up the graph again about how he won Worlds 2022 with the awards.
Yeah.
That's my favorite graph.
That's fantastic. But like I do think that like that is specifically like a really interesting one because of the fact that there is all of the history.
Why does it feel like, not to interrupt you,
No,
but
no, go.
Why,
I was-
why
I
does
was
it feel
basically
like
finished.
Hama Life Esports, even though they're only one series behind T1 and Gen G, why does it feel like there is such a gap between T1 and Gen G and
'Cause
Hama
they
Life
boomed them.
Esports?
They boomed them
Just
really
is it
hard.
just head-to-heads where it's like Hama Life Esports only loses to T1 and Gen G and they get boomed?
But
I mean,
like,
not for me. For me, it's the eye test. Like, I can see the macro of Hanwha is way worse than Gen G and T1. I can see the pushing of advantages is just not there. I can see that Viper often bails this team out when they're in a really rough spot, when the game state is not great for them, and he has a really good team fight, or Delight has an amazing engage. It feels like Hanwha heroically have gotten themselves out of sticky situations, and if you took away like 5 clutch plays from this team, they might actually be at like 8 wins right now and not 10 wins, because they had so many clutch moments that happened. That is the wild thing about this team, right? It's like Zeka might clutch it, Delight might clutch it, Viper might clutch it, Peanut might clutch it, and Doran, unfortunately, probably not. But for the other,
unless it's playoffs. Unless it's playoffs.
Braggers.
Yeah. If it's playoffs and you haven't gone international yet, Doran's got you back. Don't you worry.
but like that's the thing about Hanwha. They like have these wins against weaker teams where you're like, oh, I was a little bit worried about Hanwha, but they clutched it. Whereas T1 and Gen G, you're like, nope, there was never a doubt. They stomped them and they trolled the draft. It doesn't matter.
And also, I think that they could also probably clutch it, but they just don't have to.
Yeah, they
because
don't
they're
have
just
to,
way
but
too
they
good.
will, if they need to.
Yeah.
I think that's the
It
difference
also
for me.
feels like Hama Life Esports somehow have like a mental block against those two teams, where like sometimes they'll troll against the weaker teams, but against T1 and Gen G, they kind of play scared and they don't look like the same team, and then Viper kind of has to come out and try to bail them, but it doesn't work.
I just
they're
think
just not good enough.
I just think they're worse. I don't think they have. I don't think it's about mental block at all. I think if you look at particularly the main thing, even with Zeka, I do agree with Wolf being a lot better. Like both Chovy and Faker are playing some pretty
900 points,
some
baby.
pretty unreasonable League of Legends at the
Zeka's at
moment.
700.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Zeka has been good, but it says more, I think, about the quality of. I think Chovy and Faker also elevate each other.
They had the best laning stats when I checked.
Yeah, they
a
do.
few days ago, they were significantly far ahead of everyone else. And Faker was just slightly ahead of Chovy. But they both are like the best mid laners by a massive margin. And it's not even I could say Zeka's like, yeah, it looks like he's getting a little bit better, but he's not even in the same conversation as them. Nobody is.
Yeah.
No.
Also, the champ pool, just talking about that, is like twice as large at least for both Chovy and Faker.
I'd say
versus
probably like
Zeka.
3 times as
Yeah,
large.
maybe
at
it is
least.
3 times. I don't know. Like they play the meta stuff because they.
I think in like
You know,
Faker comparison to Zeka, it's like not 3, it's like triple digits. No, double digits. Yeah,
100 times more.
It's
Well, I just
at
mean-
least double digits.
I mean, yes.
Infinitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in terms of what they have actually played this season, it's
Right,
probably
yeah,
triple.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think it's like that. The mid gap conversation
Yeah.
is pretty
Yeah.
ridiculous. I still do think that Viper and Delight are in the conversation for best bottom lane. Isolated.
I'd still say it's.
I think it's Gumacaria.
I still
right?
say it's Gumacaria.
But they have to be in the conversation, right? Is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
it is
sure.
obviously Gumacaria,
Yeah.
but
as a number 1 and number 2.
yeah, they might
Yeah.
be. I think that
mean,
does bring
for
them
now.
up as far as like that comparison is concerned. But it's interesting thinking about the top lane as well, right? Because you highlight the mid lane, and I think that Zeka is that like clear step below. But Doran is also this season to me looking like a clear step below Keen and Zeus. Zeus, of course, who is like an actual like god amongst men. We're having this conversation, weren't we, about like what Guon can take back to the challenger team from his experience in the LCK like last week, and the amount of caveats you need when you go back and say we picked these champions and it was great is like really does highlight that T1 just is way too strong.
It's yeah.
I was just saying, what's weird to me is this season somehow I felt like, Pays and Lehens had some whoopsies like here and there, but it feels like Keria and Guma and Pays and Lehens aren't as dominant as they have been in the past. And after thinking about it a lot, I did this week and watched some of the games back, even some of the games last year back. It's just that mid is so important, and Faker and Chovy are so dominant that like it's Guma and Keria, are they bad? No. And you see the Tom Kench game, and you're just reminded, like, oh yeah, these people are actually insane at their rules.
Hayes' Zeri game.
Yeah, Pays' Zeri game. You have those moments where you remember, but the game has just been so much about mid, and Chovy and Faker have had perma prio and have been roaming and making impacts all over the map. It feels like it's an afterthought. Like the AD carry is just there to clean up the kills, but it's actually they're not the main character at all. And the game is over before you get to late
That's why
game
they
where
don't
it's.
get POG.
Yeah, we were.
That's why they don't get pentas. They don't get POG. Like
Well, they do get pentas. They just don't get PG.
No, it's
It
for it.
doesn't
Rarely,
matter,
though, you know.
because
Yeah,
they didn't do it.
we were going through this. Yes, it's like mid,
mid,
jungle,
mid,
top.
mid.
It's like Zeus is like hey, and then Viper is the first like 400, right? So it's and that's why I feel like Guma Carrier for me are still the first, even though Guma his stats are just not good, and like anything outside of watching the games won't really tell you anything about what it is that he and Carrier are doing, which I think is really, really funny. And because of the way that the two teams are also diametrically opposed in how they use their bot lane, the comparison is just so hard to make, which makes it all the more fun when they do face off this week. Like
Hell
next
yeah.
week.
That's
Like,
one heck of a
that's-
Saturday showdown.
yeah,
amazing.
the ways in which T1 again talking about like why they're better than Hanwha Life, like the way they look at the game is they don't follow like the rules of League of Legends. Like when Zeus also looks like he's gonna get caught, right? Where you're like, oh man, Zeus, like what's going on? And then he just goes over the wall, and the enemy team is like, why is he there? And then suddenly the rest of T1 is also there because they rotated really fast. And Zeus is like, well, I can be up here because my team has my back. I don't even have to tell them that I'm hard pushing inner, and then they show up, right? Like that's the kind of moment that you see on T1
Or
all
his
the time.
team isn't there, and 5 of the bad guys are there, and he kills one of them
And
anyway.
they get 2 turrets, and he
Aatrox is
kills one,
super
and like
balanced, guys.
But this is the kind of thing that T1 does where a lot of other teams would be like, well, I should just back now. I'm not going to push up because, my team can't bail me out and like they're going to come punish me. And T1 is like baiting, sometimes intentionally, sometimes by accident, with how good they are at coordinating these moments that you're like, do I even try to kill Zeus? Like, is that even smart? Like, is that even actually
Yeah.
correct? Even though he's way up, like.
Yeah. You know what's also interesting, I think, is a draft discussion about the current state of the meta, where, like, it feels like you have to draft so many amazing power picks for the bottom lane, but then, like, the mid laners just get to play whatever they want, So it's like, how are you ever going to ban against some of these teams? And I know we're all guilty of like we're on the space and we're like doing we're watching the draft and stuff and we see like Senna's left open. We're like, that's insane. How do they let that happen? Well, it's like because T1 can play like 8 different combos in the bottom lane, or they can play like 17 different champs in the mid lane. So like, how do you ban away everything, and how do you like deal
also,
with that? Especially because it feels like everybody's developing more and more and more picks, like with the patches that have been coming out. So and like Azira's back as well. So it just feels like there's so much OP stuff right now. So
and off the back of that as well, I feel like teams are because Guma's played double the amount of like almost triple the amount of Senna than any other bottom lane, and I think it's because teams don't want to get crushed as quickly. And Senna, of course, scaling pick, right? You're not going to have a lot of presence in lane. You don't die, as we've seen. Like, Senna's way too strong. Her healing is way too strong. She just keeps you alive and in lane for way too long. But you don't roll over the lane and win most of the time. And
it
so
takes
I
away
feel like,
T1's dive power, where Faker just comes down
Yeah.
and they just dive. And
so maybe the theory is we'll let them have it to slow down the game, and maybe if we can get ourselves some picks, we can win. I swear that's the only reason why it's getting left up, for that exact reason, because it means you can then ban the undefeated Orianna and like all of the other things, and the Kalista that would
Varus.
just like straight crush you in the first, like, because the Senna and the Kalista are the biggest picks for T1. Because Carrier gets way too broken with both of those champions.
yeah, that's
Imagine if they were
become very
playing-
apparent this season. It's
Yes.
like, oh, Carrier, maybe he should play like mid lane, or like maybe he should be the AD carry, but obviously not because Guma and Faker exist. But it's just insane what that guy can do with any amount of gold.
I was also happy to see, like, Genji, I think a couple of games in a row that they didn't really get Kalista banned away. They picked it one game, and Pace was like, oh, I get to do the hippity hop. And then he went, then after that, it started getting banned, which, again, it just reiterates how truly blessed we are to have two teams that are that good. The only problem is that all our other teams have to face them.
Also,
And it just looks silly.
we've been playing a lot on 14.3 for 2 weeks now, right? I
Yep.
think we have 14.4. and
14.4 is coming up.
Which
eventually.
doesn't touch
But yeah,
Senna
Nico's
at
been
all.
disabled the whole time. And like the two teams that play Nico all the time are T1 and Genji. So like,
And now we get it back.
and now we're
Yeah,
just going to
because it
start
was-
playing that again in 14.4.
Yeah, because it was literally perma banned against T1. So
Yeah.
you got teams got a free
But
ban
also
against
Chovy,
T1.
remember he did like the crazy
Yep.
thing
Yeah.
against Bull, like
Oh yeah, when he
the fake emote. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be an amazing match. And what do you like? I want to get some predictions. This is not actually on script at all, but I want some predictions around the table because I haven't got any idea what I'm actually going to choose for my prediction for next week. We haven't actually handed those in yet. What
Who
are
has
what are
side
our
selection?
thoughts?
I can
That's a
look it
really
up-
good
I can look it
question.
up
I'm
right now.
I
pretty
need
sure
to know because I think whoever gets blue will win.
Oh, my phone is dead.
I think it's Gen G.
Not useful.
I'm just gonna predict Genji. Think that Genji just Chovy he didn't lie when he was like, you know what? I figured out Faker. I've done it. I've downloaded him after years of losing.
Also, is it 14.4
Yeah,
next week?
it is.
It should be, right? Because
Yes.
we have 14.3 for 2 weeks. Okay. Some
I just-
considerations.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
going to
know.
look it up.
I think Genji have worried me a little bit, but at the same time, they are also the only team that I truly trust to beat T1 in team fighting, because it's easy to forget that we saw it in a lot of Worlds, and we've seen it like one or two times. The aiming holy shit moment was also when they were like a couple K gold behind and then they got a clean ace. So we don't see T1 team fight often because they stomp lane so hard that there's no ever fight really. But Genji, I think, is the team that even if it's even or Genji's at a slight deficit, they're good enough to actually pull it through. And I think that right now the meta feels, if it's even, it feels like it just comes down to 5v5.
I think
it
gonna.
seems like T1 have side selection, by the way.
Okay. I think
I predict T1.
this series for me is just going to come down to who drafts better, and that's really it's really difficult to predict what's going to happen on the day. Obviously, having side selection makes your ability to draft better often stronger, and I think the solo lanes are going to be the determining factor for me. We might have like a scaling versus scaling bottom matchup. We might have scaling versus pushing. Like we might have Smolder versus, Callista, probably not. Maybe like Smolder versus Varus could happen in like game 3 when the bans change or something like that. But my money is on the team that actually has the agency early is going to win like every time. I feel like the scaling team will win rarely actually in this series, just because I think both these teams are so good at punishing, so good at early leads. Like Smolder feels to me like unplayable in this best of 3 because you're never going to get there. Neither of these teams let you come back. They don't let you. They take a lead. They hold on to it. They don't let you back in. They almost never mess it up.
If you prio pick Smolder like some of our Eastern standings teams have done, the good teams just absolutely crush you because they're like, okay, you're going to play Smolder. We're going to play Poppy and Callista and
thanks
Rel.
for the 4v5. yeah.
All right, we're diving you. Like, you don't lane, you don't exist, and we just live in the bottom lane.
Just
And
pick
what's
Zeri.
The thing is as well, like if Nico's enabled again, I think that it's almost too dangerous, right? Because like that dive becomes even more obnoxious, like especially if you start running into Nocturne compositions.
Yeah,
and
I don't
things
know, like
that.
between Talia and...
Yeah, but that's what I mean. To add another thing to the list
Yeah.
of like dive champions that you can very comfortably pick and still have a good laning phase on, that's real scary.
I like the matchup for T1 in the bottom lane right now. I feel like they're way stronger than
I think
Pays
Pays
and
Lehens is a bit of a downgrade compared to Pays
Pays
Delight.
Delight. Yeah, agree.
I think that like especially like for laning power, I think the trade-off is having the Lehens voice for team fights and stuff like that. But that's like not necessarily something that's
It's
quantifiable.
like intangible.
Lehens
Yeah,
is so good in metas where both 80 carries are like scaling 80 carries. But when it's like, I either need to be pushing the turret super hard and be there all the time, he's not as good as that. Or if he's the guy who has to be like, I can't abandon my 80 carry because I have to be defending on the tower because they're pushing the tower all the time. Like, he isn't as good as Keria is in those moments, I feel. So I think that's one aspect that could be very strong for Genji. For T1. For Genji, I think the strong aspect might be the solo lanes. Like maybe Chovy outperforms Faker. Maybe Keen has a wider champion pool to Zeus. We just don't know because Zeus just keeps getting allowed to play Aatrox or Cassante every game and just winning every time.
Bans in the
Yeah.
first round, you know?
Yeah,
Same with the mid laners. Like, they could probably play like 10, 15 different champs, but they just play
I feel like
Karma every
Keen-
game.
or
Or
Keen
Zeri,
will
it's
have-
like, oh,
or
okay.
Corki.
Keen will have Keen will have I think more answers for top than T1 will give to Zeus. So that's one aspect I think if you're voting Genji that could be strong for you.
Oh, he's blinding Aatrox. If it's not bad, that's just the reality of what's going to happen.
It's very strong.
Yeah, I do think that and I feel like it's due to both Pays and Lehens as well. I feel like Lehens' laning just hasn't been that good. I feel like him and Pays are not really on the same page, but it is exclusively laning. I do feel as soon as we get to the post laning phase, they are probably still the best team fighting, which is crazy because we have Viper and the Light.
Yeah.
Right? But the fact that they're contesting for that is really, really cool. I feel like Zeus right now is more consistent than Keen. I think Keen is a little bit more reliant on having a good early game, and I think he snowballs better than perhaps anyone else. But Zeus, to me, really does feel like you literally do not have to give him attention. He can blind, and then he will somehow, at some point, start pulling ahead and
Didn't
1v9.
both Zeus and Keen have TF games where they just got bullied and like went 1-5? I think both of those
Yeah, it
guys
didn't
did,
matter.
right?
Yeah,
and
and
it just
like
didn't
the
matter.
Keen Tristana
The
game.
King Tristana
the
game,
King
yeah.
So I was
Tristana
like,
game
he
as
just
well.
chain dies, but then he's like, "Hey team, go and take their
Yeah.
base."
Yeah, he did. He
And
did.
they're
He
like,
did.
so much
"All right."
better.
He
It
just.
doesn't
He was
matter.
just. I was saying as well. It's like that's the top diff game where you're like, I got absolutely boomed.
Well, that's the new thing with this meta with 80 carry top, where you actually just like look at the enemy team and you just like tie an anchor to them and just like drop it. And they're like, well, we have to pull everything to this top 80 carry or else it's completely boom. And then so if you don't have any sort of answer on the other side, or if they R5 that 80 carry pick and you have to play top and you lose control of bottom and you don't have mid prio, like it's just done. So yeah, you might kill Keen 3-4 times, but you lost the game for it. So
Yeah.
and if you don't, you lost the game. The new 80 carry top tech is like so busted if you have the
Especially
pool
TF.
to play it.
Especially
yeah, TF or Smolder.
I like
or
the
Fane.
Smolder. Like, I actually really liked Kingen. I think Kingen's like a big glow up for me, actually. Like, after being probably the most anti-Kingen human being, like, in LoL Park. I'll take
true.
that.
Jesus.
I was very not. I just was very disappointed.
He was literally he looked up like Thanatos' real name. They like opened the yellow pages and he was trying to call him like
Max driving through
I
the
was
streets
driving
of
through
Seoul,
the streets
looking
of
for
Seoul, man.
Thanatos'
he's like
phone
only
number.
24,000 Koreans in this area have the same name as him. Let's see if I can find.
And unfortunately, I was actually looking for the word Thanatos in the yellow pages, and that's not his actual name. So it was a disaster. But no, I actually think that like he debuted the Twist of Fate. Played that very well. I loved the Smolder build. Of course, this is something that's been played in solo queue a lot, but the fact that he adapted, they were able to utilize that flex pick well. I think it's great to see that they actually have another solo laner that's also performing, when beforehand it was like Showmaker and 4 wards, you know? And now it's actually a team that's starting to come together. Even Eamon got a POG today. You
I
know?
had a POG last time too.
Yeah. I know, but like
But that was
he's
against a weaker
continuing to get like to have a good performance.
Here's something I want to say about Kingen, because I noticed this today. He seems to have a voice on the team. Like he's actually talking, and that's. Is it the best thing to have your top laner as your shot caller? Not necessarily, but I think it is better than having none at all or Showmaker screaming when he's hyped, because that's basically what they had. And now, because jungle shot calling and mid shot calling is quite common, or support shot calling, right? Usually never AD carry because they're under so much pressure. They have to think about so much stuff on their own. They can't also be thinking about what other people are doing. And Lucid is young, right? So it's pretty hard for him to do it in this case. So it's like tough to have AD carry, tough to have Lucid do it because he just doesn't know what to tell people yet. So having Kingen is better than what we had before. And I'm not sure if he's a main shot caller, but in a lot of the comms we had, he was sharing a ton of information. He was actually making calls on who to focus and stuff like that. So that, to me, means he's feeling a lot better. He's feeling a lot more confident. Maybe they're kind of like touting him as a bit of a leadership role in this team, which, you know, with Showmaker on the roster, it would seem like, you know, that would never happen, right? But Showmaker isn't communicating, right? So they need someone to, and maybe that could be Kingen. Maybe that makes Lucid like learn how to communicate, that maybe he starts doing it, or maybe, you know, ends up being Kellen later on. But I'm hopeful that that's like the start of something good.
I think DK also just have the fact that aiming one of the champions that he's good at got re-added back into the pool. Zeri's fine again, so
Yeah.
I think it helped a lot. I'm still
Much better than the
And
Smolder.
Kai'Sa.
Yeah.
Kai'Sa also got added back.
Yeah,
so
I'm still-
Eamon got like sort of double
yeah,
reactivated.
I do think the Kai'Sa has only looked. I guess Def today was fine.
Aiming needs as much as he can get, right?
That's
That's what I'm saying.
Let's give it this one.
It's allowed to
You're
be
right.
played. That's
You're
what
right.
I'm saying.
Yeah, I wasn't really sold on that Deft Kai'Sa today either myself. It worked
He actually-
eventually.
He theoretically
I think-
bought his onions.
no, and also I think that if he doesn't, I think Def just had. I didn't mention.
He had
it
a
'cause
rough
it's-
day today.
I mean, I
And-
think his generals the last couple of weeks have just not been good at all.
Yeah.
He's waiting for summer.
Yeah, and if he
he's
didn't
taking his
get
time
if he
with
didn't
this
get
one.
caught, like he was actually winning the top skirmish that happened where they
Yeah.
like he got the fire flood W's. It's a DK KT. It's a coin flip. We all know. Today DK pulled out ahead because they
Two
won
50-minute
the
games.
flips. Yeah,
Yeah.
And that one time
I
you played Smolder.
that's actually
It was a slow-mo flip.
so
let's
for
just say
that for that T1 GNG series, that would actually be the best thing imaginable because you know that both those teams are really gonna push it. And today, both teams tried to push it, but then stumbled over their own feet.
I think both teams were just falling down the hill, you
Yeah.
know, tumbling down the hill.
together like wrestling.
And they were very, very close to, yeah.
My take is a little bit different. I think both teams like were the hill is going like this, and both teams were like at the opposite side of the hill, going like, "Ooh, that's a big hill."
And they get the surveyor to come out and like, oh, I think you probably could do the walk up of that hill, and then just get a second opinion, please.
Are we even sure they're on the other side? I can't see it. There's a big hill there.
I don't think anyone came out unscathed. We're bringing. I thought that series was
Certainly
so
not
funny.
us.
No, well,
Oh no.
no, but like every individual player that I can think of have moments where you're like, what are you doing? What is happening? And then
I actually thought that maybe it was fatigue, and I just didn't understand
Yeah.
League of Legends like I did
No.
the day before. But I was just like, I don't understand
We had-
why these champions are moving like this.
we had Lucid going from like one of the worst, like I'm gonna get him guys engages like in the face of Deft, and then also have the game winning engage. We had BDD with some amazing pullbacks, and then the other time we're like, BDD, where are you? We need you right now. Showmaker having like both a couple of really good games, and then came on the Karma game where he just kept running into people and he just kept dying. It was
It was weird.
Oh,
now,
what a
I
day.
I need to admit something, guys.
been-
I've gone a little bit rogue. Based on where we were supposed to allocate time during this episode of the PogState,
It's time.
it was a very small amount of time for the conversation that we just had for about an hour, and then about the hour's time on what I don't want to talk about at all. I don't want to. I don't want to do it. Don't want to address
Do it,
He's
Atlas.
been
And
avoiding it.
because I'm the host, I just get to ignore it forever. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week. No. We're not going to see you next week. It's going to be 2 weeks from now. But also, we do have
it
to
is
address
next
the
week,
predictions and my folly. So...
You
Can I
go first. You go first.
All right.
You want to go last?
I'll rip the Band-Aid off. We were allowed to do one swap. So what we're allowed to do is we're allowed to take one team and another team and switch their position in our predictions. And for me,
From week one.
that didn't help at all. It was sad, made me upset, and it's all because of KT.
Comic sadness in the house.
And the worst part is that I was touting, I was like just running about town saying, KT, just coin flip team, haha. And I was right. But I put them in first like a moron. Like, what is wrong with me?
You just
I'm
thought
like,
they were gonna flip heads 5 times in a row.
Yeah,
that's
but-
what you thought.
yeah, and do I understand how a coin works? No, obviously I don't. I'm like, but it's obviously weighted heads. No, I'm just an idiot. So that bothers me.
K-Tails. It's a little weighted tails, I think. K-Tails,
Yeah, it's feeling a little like that. But what I did do was tried to nail the bottom part, and that I might be able to get right. The eastern side, side. So I switch Nongshim and Kwandong Freaks, right?
Yeah.
Are you following?
And
Yeah, no,
KT's
that's
still
not
in
that wasn't the
first.
problem.
No, I understand.
There's
what
a
you're
little
talking
bit of an issue. Your KT is still in first. What happened with that?
I gave up, Valdez. I just gave up. I'm like, because what do I do? What do I do here? What do I do? I switch KT and T1, and then they're second. I'm still screwed. I switch. I'm like, but like Gen G might be able to make it to first. I'm like, no, they won't. T1's gonna smash them. It's over.
But even if you do it, then your KT is still in third.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm still screwed, and then I'm still gambling anyway.
Well, I would have gambled Genji, KT, and hope that KT has a glow up and they end up ahead of Hanwha, because everything that happens, like I said, beyond the KT D plus KT line, and nobody knows.
It's the wild east.
Like, I actually made a
It's the
swap.
Wild East.
I made a swap with Kwangdong and Nongshim because I think Kwangdong will still be above Nongshim, and I had it the opposite way before.
There is a chasm after Kwandong as far as match
Yeah,
score.
it
is
doesn't really
concerned.
help me in terms of me thinking that Fear X is going to playoffs, because that is definitely not happening. That is definitely not happening. But, well, like I said, anything could happen. It could be positive. I don't think it's going to be positive. But
Can we change the... Oh, I've got an idea. How about we change the loser to if you mess up who's going to playoffs, then you automatically lose.
Atlas, you can't just suggest rule changes.
So
That's
Max
specific.
I have to
basically-
do it. I'm going to lose, right? I have to do whatever I can, all right, guys?
So Max's KT blunder is worse than mine and Valdez's because we have them in third, which doesn't seem
Yeah.
likely. So he's just here to make sure that we don't have to put L's on our foreheads. So I really appreciate it. I
It's like
appreciate the
Ox
donation.
prediction. It's like you don't care because Ox is so...
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, as long as I'm not last.
quintupling down, guys.
Quintupling down
Chronicle has
against
KT
DK.
in fourth. How is that fine?
Well, no,
Bro,
it's
I am-
good because he has Hama Life Esports
I am
in third.
thriving. I have Genji T1, which at worst
All right.
are
Yeah,
going
no,
to be
you're...
swapped.
Your
I
top's
wasn't gonna
probably
talk.
fine.
I'm just-
Yeah. Your top's probably fine. Your third's probably fine.
I mean, honestly, Chronicler wins. Like, unless
Chronicler
Nongshim,
will get first.
like drop down to 10th place or something, it's just not
Yeah,
gonna
'cause
happen.
everyone Gen G
Yes,
first
I
did.
did this by doing something that
there's
normally I
still a
don't do,
chance
which is
that Genji get first.
take no risks. I took 0 risks. I just took everything at face value.
Maybe I did the
Well-
wrong thing.
You remember after week one, like KT and DK had that series, right? And Hama Life Esports looked like a little bit shaky at first.
I guess.
So I think me and Wolf kind of went for. We think that Hama Life Esports are not going to get their stuff together, and KT and DK are going to kind of maintain this form. But I feel like the opposite happened, where Hama Life Esports got closer and closer, better and better, and KT and DK just got less
more
and
mess.
less consistent.
And we had tape, right? We had the
Yeah.
entirety of 2023 to tell us that Home Life Esports wasn't going to get it together.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I remember even saying back on that episode, I was like, I just don't trust the org is going to make it happen. Like,
Yeah.
they seem to struggle. But right now, I mean, KT fourth is just actually accurate. I don't think D plus is going to pass them because of strength of schedule. Like right now, they're ahead of them, but KT is going to be better in the standings than them, even though they just lost to them.
And worst
like,
case,
Chronicler
is
might
fourth
get
to fifth.
100% correct. It's not even that far off. Like, yes, Genji probably has to be T1, or like T1 drops a random series here.
Nongshim has to be ahead of.
Nongshim has to be
Fear X.
ahead of Fear X.
But they
It's-
are.
yeah,
but
seems
That's
likely.
actually very
That's not that-
possible.
that's-
yeah.
it's not that crazy.
That's not that.
No.
Just
Like, I don't
two
think it'll happen,
series
but
ahead, and then
And they only have to beat them in the head-to-head
Yeah.
in round 2,
Yeah.
and it doesn't like
not that
just in their
crazy.
matchup.
Yeah.
and that's the only one they really have to.
The only
win.
thing that will be truly tragically hilarious is if I swap Kwangdong after I put them 8th, and then they somehow manage to fumble it again, just like
they fall
last
to
week.
8th. Yeah.
It's gonna take a lot. Because, like, didn't we calculate that they could actually just lose
Well, yeah,
every
it's
game
also
from
it's
now on and
also-
still make it to
They
playoffs?
have-
They have Cuz now. I'm not worried. They're gonna make playoffs. Like Cuz,
They
he's
had
too good.
Cuz when they lost to Bro.
Yeah, but it doesn't
Twice.
matter. I know, Cuz he was bad those 2 days. It's fine. I think
He's bound to flip ahead.
He was bad those 2 days? Cuz Auntie? Come on.
wow.
Yeah, he
if
was.
anything, I'm a Cuz stan. We should know this.
Yeah.
Is he better than Owner?
No.
Is he better than Guon?
Anti?
Yes.
There we go.
Although I do actually, Guon got
That's Posy Cuz
Guon,
right
Guon
there.
has gotten so much slander as opposed to the real problem, which is the T1 Oregon challengers who just have been bad for like the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Guon was like, it wasn't amazing, but he was fine on.
Yeah, he was
Humble
fine on
Life.
Humble. Yep.
He had a very scary profile picture.
He did.
That was the thing that stood out to me the most
Yeah.
about him back
Yeah.
then. And then he lived up to it. Anyways,
It just feels like the Kwangdong swaps for everyone made the most sense because
That's what we
Kwangdong
all did.
had the
didn't
glow
we?
up,
Oh yeah, we
right?
thought Nongshim was going to be good. That was fun. I like
So
that.
almost
Yeah.
all of us just swapped Kwangdong
6th or
Nongshim.
7th. Yeah. And Kronny did Kwangdong Fox or Fear
Yeah,
X.
he was too correct in
Yeah.
his prediction. So
He had to put Kwangdong up there because Kwangdong was the one that had the glow up. So
Well, so the bottom standings might still completely be thrown off for everyone. That's the funny part. But because of because they're so similar, because most people have Bro in 10th, DRX in 9th, it's hard to imagine there to be any mileage for anyone.
Basic Chronicle saying I won.
Oh, we don't know that yet.
He's like Walter White on the phone right now. But I think the only choice I could have made otherwise is actually swapping Kwangdong and Fear X and just leaving Nongshim in 7th. And then I could have actually been, right, and Fear X could have dropped
you had
really
you had a couple of easy ones as well though, because you could have just swapped T1 Genji if you think that T1's just the better team, right? You could also swap KT Humble Life, and then that also guarantees a couple of points. Because my issue, right, is that what I wanted to do, and I actually asked
Your one
whether I
issue?
could do this. I tried to ask to do this. I was just like, can I just swap KT with a Void? Just take them out of my predictions entirely, shift everything up one, and I'm like, yeah, got it. Like that would actually be really fun.
What if you let him do it, but then he has to put Bro first?
No, but that doesn't change it. What I need to do is just take them out, and then the stack moves up.
So basically what you're saying is you need 9
I need
swaps.
to move 9 teams. Yes.
that sounds fair enough. Yeah.
But if I did actually just swap KT with Pooh, and they just disappear, then theoretically
11th
that
franchise
would be the
team
best,
confirmed.
That would be the best one that I could do. But unfortunately, that is impossible.
I mean, there is weirdly enough a blank 11th spot at the bottom of the paper.
It was foretold.
I'm not really
still
sure
not
why
allowed to
that's
do it.
there,
I'm still
but
not- I've been ruled out. yeah.
TSM.
Predictions have
Johnny
Oh,
right here.
just in case.
Yeah, you
just
never
in
know.
case.
TSM.
They
come
might
on.
join. Like, could happen.
Predictions also have kind of been ruined already because of Ox just doubling down,
Yeah.
tripling down.
I mean,
don't know
his
how.
predictions have been ruined. I think we're fine. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's always fun to see who's lost. Who cares about winning?
Oh, right. Yeah. So we know who's going to be last.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did all of us a solid.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
He's taking
with
that
you,
wooden
thanks.
spoon. Yeah, you guys are welcome. Me and Orcs holding it together, just like he messed up the fan chants in game number 1, came back really strong in the second game as well. So like I feel like every time Orcs stumbles, things just get a little bit better.
It's like me being mad.
yeah, exactly. If Chronicler starts the day tilted, you're gonna have a good day.
I like to think about it. Some people say take 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Ox takes one step back, one step forward, and then one more step back.
And then sometimes a step forward before he goes to bed. And then we've hit neutral ground. Everything's great.
Are there is there anything like that would truly shock us to the core that could happen in
If
the
my
second
predictions
round?
were right.
Okay, well, that's okay. I really walked into that one.
I think
But
if KT have any kind of
what
glow
is
up, right?
what is the most?
If KT somehow get ahead of Homolife Esports, like 3 of us have.
Are you asking about our predictions, or are you asking just in general? What
No,
is
I'm
the
just
thing?
like what is like a call that is kind of a out there take, but you're like that might happen and it would be cool.
Oh, it might happen.
see
thing.
what
I was
you
about to say
okay.
Brogo undefeated, but
no, I mean something that
not
you
gonna happen.
kind of that it shouldn't be real, but you want to believe in it even though you shouldn't.
Hanwha Life, lower bracket finals win, not T1 Gen G finals.
Oh,
Please.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's the one I want,
good
and I think
one.
it could happen. Lower bracket finals upset,
it
just
could.
like when T1 upset KT last summer. Like that could happen.
I was
I
thinking
like
also
that.
like if there's like somehow just like a D+ run as well, where like you've got Kingin in clutch scenarios, like that's the only time he really plays League of Legends. Let's be honest. And then aiming as well, just frustratingly, just way better in playoffs, and they just get it done. You know,
He
behind
really
Showmaker
wants the
and
D+
being good.
storyline
I just
daily.
He just was happy.
for me, I feel like that's the thing that I could understand
No,
if
I'll
someone told me
I'll
that that's
subscribe.
what's going to happen in the future.
Lucid
right? That's
wins
the
Rookie
only
of the
one,
Year.
really.
It's perfect. Just in spring
Yeah.
already.
The possibility of it happening, guys, by the way, is like about 2%.
All right, hear me out. Here's
Yeah,
my
all right.
my dream. But it needs to be like somewhat. I just can't. I want Nongshim to be better than they are.
Yeah.
Oh, summer.
Okay, hear me
so
out.
Nongshim make playoffs in summer.
Nongshim, Calyx gets subbed in, and they make playoffs in summer.
Yeah.
Oh, as soon as he like comes of age,
No,
they sub him in on
no,
the
'cause
day,
they
and for
will.
his birthday
No,
present,
'cause I
present is just destroying everyone.
I don't know when round because we're currently what is it like we don't know what
Round
I don't know
2,
what day is it
2024 spring.
Okay, that's not helpful at all. So it's week 6, right? So Calyx actually is turning 17 just as the playoffs begin.
Yeah.
So he gets
Just in time.
So just in time for summer.
Just in time to practice with
Yeah.
the team.
Yeah.
So, your track record, Chronicler, of hyping up these specific challengers players has been, I'd say, about sub 30% in terms
And also,
of
when
hype
actually,
and
when
then
Calyx
delivering.
and Colmy were playing, we did think Colmy was much better.
Okay, so all right,
thought
hold on.
Calyx
Let's
was
go.
better.
Let's put Chronicler on trial for a moment. Did you or did you not say Birdall was the next coming of Christ?
No.
Did
Okay,
you or
actually,
did you not
no,
say
no, no,
Clear
no.
was very good? Did you or did
Okay,
you not? Hold on.
Clear-
Say,
No. Hear me out. Actually, I was pleasant.
what did you say about Bulldog? I need to hear it.
Yeah, Bulldog's actually out of
Who
that.
looks legit?
Yeah.
Okay, no, but actually,
And remember,
Worst
Lucius
laning
engaged.
stats right now. I'm just
after-
saying.
Yeah, okay, but his laning isn't good. But he's a good.
He also plays
player.
Aurelion Sol on purpose.
and Hui. No, I actually
His way
went,
is the best one. So
I
far.
actually went back and because we hadn't co-stream challengers in forever because we did challengers for real. I went back. There was a command in my chat like great prospects. This was like way back. So there was, and actually I think all of them besides Ilma made LCK. So it was obviously some of them like Claire I think haven't really been delivering at all, which is unfortunate. But it was like Claire. Pays was there, which ended up aging very well, obviously.
Yeah, that one ain't bad.
Bulldog, I think.
Bull Bay was probably on there, I guess.
I feel like Bull may not have made the list.
He did not.
He would have been pretty
Pool
close,
Bay,
though,
Pool
right?
Bay was not. Thanatos was, who I still think should probably
Yes.
be
About any
the
DRX
LCK.
guys.
I think
Outside of
we
Clear.
had
you had Peach, right? And
Peach and Plata.
yeah.
Plata.
So Peach didn't make, obviously didn't make LCK, but is in the LEC. So
And Pleta is, like, you can say whatever you want about where DRX are in the standings. That guy is a god.
Yeah.
He's amazing. I love that player.
I just wanted to tease Chronicler a little bit.
it's justified.
But
There's
I
also a lot of
also-
hyping that
Yeah.
completely.
But I
crashes
also
into
don't
the
think
ground.
Calyx will change this team any more than Fiesta subbing in the other day. They need a lot more than that to make
I
playoffs,
do
I
think that 20% of the players will change.
Well, I also don't. We were dreaming. I thought this was a place where dreams could
But
come
you said,
true.
but you said like but there was a remote possibility it could happen.
I can think they can make. Have you seen the rest of the team? They can make playoffs. It's possible. Yeah, the gap's not that big.
Yeah, we're talking about, like, like possibility.
Kwangdong barely-
not probability. Okay,
No, but
it's not likely.
Kwangdong barely beat them.
Yeah, and look, every team fields 5 players. You know, every team has a
What are you
nexus
trying to
that can be destroyed.
He's just trying to say that my statement is nonsense.
And it's
Feldas,
when it's probability,
I'm
it
with you on
is
this one,
possible.
Nongshim will make playoffs actually in summer with Calyx. They will. What? It's not that crazy. He's really good.
yeah!
Also,
I gotta win!
also Kwangdong Freaks. I mean, they were good at the beginning of spring, but who knows how deep that rabbit hole goes.
Oh,
if they
I
totally
love
fall
this.
off,
Yeah.
maybe Nongshim get in with 6 and 12 instead.
I see what it is. It's
You
like,
know?
Valdez just realized that every other team is going to go boom, and there's only going to be a playoff spot left for Nongshim.
And they'll have Calyx, and he's really good.
Yeah, no, I could see it. I could absolutely see it.
I'm not seeing it at the moment. Please check back.
It happens in summer.
Please
so you
check
wouldn't see
back
it
in
right now.
overreactions in week 1 of summer to see
And
if I'm
look,
seeing
it is
it
setting
yet
it up
then.
for some good stuff because maybe Poolbay is like the starting mid laner for Bro at that point, and our known Bro anti chronicler over
I will
here
actually
comes back to the light.
I actually
you
will.
know, of the Giga
No, I will.
Chats.
I 100%. I will.
Because then they'll have Polo, Morgan, and Poolbay.
Yeah, no,
like that's too many players that you like. You know, it's pretty ridiculous.
I can't argue with that.
Have to
All
say,
right.
I've been pretty proud of the Lord. I think that he's had some good games.
I want to
recently.
hear Valdez's dream or slash like possible.
My one was also
possible
Nongshim in
prediction.
summer. or maybe
You
KT.
can't just say the same one that
No,
he
I was
said.
thinking about it. That's why I was saying it as he was saying it. Instead of that, maybe KT winning summer. I think it could happen.
Oh, dang it! Now it's not going to happen, dude.
No, like BDD, you've got Barrel, right?
yeah, they have all
they
of
make
these
a big
players.
run.
They should be able to win. But now,
They might
now
win
that you've
summer.
voiced it, and now it's in the
Or
ether,
maybe they
it's
just make
impossible.
world. Well,
I think
guess
it's
they're
more
gonna make Worlds
likely.
anyway.
I actually think it's more likely they win Worlds than they win Summer.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, maybe that's true.
Yeah.
So I think that's basically what Mao is saying is that you're crazy for thinking this could actually happen.
What's
no, you're
crazier,
not.
that or Nongshim making playoffs?
Do you know what's weird?
Ooh, that's a
He's
tough
right. You would be crazy for thinking it. However, like it could still very possibly happen because like you would be insane for thinking in spring that DRX were going to win 2022 Worlds.
Yeah.
But they did.
Yeah.
You're
And
even.
so you have actually proof that 3 of the players that were
You
the
have more
most
proof
clutch, I think.
this time.
Yeah, but like
than last
yeah,
time.
we have it. All the tape is there, but it's also at this point in time looking just as impossible.
Yeah.
For them to get it
What
together.
if
enough.
KT signed Thanatos?
I don't. I actually like Perfect. I like.
think Perfect has
obvious-
shown the most
obvious-
improvement out of all the
Obviously,
players,
you're like
Yeah,
you're
but,
you're preaching to the choir. I really want him to be signed.
We just want him on a team. Yeah.
What if Thanatos goes to another region? Oh, that's probably what's gonna happen.
Why do you always have to do this? Why?
Because I just know what's gonna happen. I
You're
want
like
to
a
dream
cricket
too.
bat of reality.
Yeah, I want
Right
to
to
dream
the
too.
head.
Memer
But I'm pretty
segments,
sure
not
that
the memer segment.
like literally everything we've said about Thanatos over the last 6 weeks has been accurate. However, he has not joined. He did not get called up.
You
He
say
did not
6
get
weeks.
subbed in.
I think it's like 2 years. Let's be honest.
And so I just don't expect that it is going to suddenly. He's not going to like ride out like Gandalf on the top of the hill and be like, "Kingen is out. I'm in. That's right."
that's not what Gandalf said.
I'm pretty sure that's what he said to Aragon, man. I'm pretty sure he said.
Oh
like,
wait, yeah, no, that was just with
Director's
music.
cut.
No, he
Wasn't
didn't
it?
say like,
Yeah.
"Look to the east on week 7."
That's what he said first, but he said that like before week 7, you know. So like this is where he's coming. Like this is where we're looking at the east, and he's up there saying, "Yo, bros, I'm here. Let's go, King, and you're out."
Did you have a dream, Max?
Did I have a dream? No. All of my dreams were shattered. My dream was actually my predictions. So you know my dream. It was KT in first.
How about Hum Life Esports finish summer in first? They get all first.
All pro
all pro,
first?
Too real.
all
too
pro,
real,
and then
too
they
real.
lose,
Too real.
and then they lose in the lower finals of summer.
Why would you? Why would you?
So
bring
they're the
this-
And
No,
it's
why
like
would
a
the noble
crazy
sacrifice?
narrative point, just like last year with KT, and we were like, "Oh my god,
Why
they're
would
so
you-
good." And Hum Life Esports, they like really ramp up, and then they just all fall off and lose their final.
Don't do it to me, Valdez. It was I knew KT was going to get first place way earlier than week 6. You know, just one behind, and they held first place. Okay, they had
Yeah, you
a
were
pretty
very
good playoff
invested.
run, and then they were supposed to beat T1. It seemed very obvious. Faker had just come back from injury, had no champion pool, And then don't. Hanwha's not even compare. It's not even a comparable situation.
Zeka adds one champion to his champion pool, and he's
Whoa,
the best
what
mid
is it?
laner now.
What is the champion? What's it going to be? If he adds one champion to his champion pool and it's incredible, what is it?
It's got to be a champion with insane agency throughout the entire game,
Something
like mid smolder.
random's gonna get buffed, like Fizz. He's gonna like play Fizz or something.
He would be a
Would be a
Fizz.
Fizzer.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Fizz already got
Or like
buffed
Kiana
and then
or
got
Talon.
nerfed
No,
subsequently,
you just if they just buff him enough, there'll be a way.
Well, I mean, obviously.
And it's just on the playoffs patch,
Maybe
and then
it's
for some
Echo.
reason they don't nerf it for Worlds.
I was thinking like Neferi or something like that. If they do something absurd where Neferi's possible to play
Kiana?
in mid lane, Kiana's a good
Well,
one too.
now we're just naming all the.
Talon?
Yeah, we're just
Yeah.
naming
Ooh.
every
Echo.
every
Every melee
places.
mid laner, yeah.
And then it's going to end up being like Rise or something where for no reason he's good at.
And then it's a Vex meta, and it's just Showmaker and Chovy and Faker again. And
So he comes
that's it.
back.
Genji
Oh,
T1
God.
final.
If Zoe comes back, that
okay.
might be that's the KT angle, perhaps.
So
I don't know.
maybe a sour note to end on. But what do we think is the probability of another year of T1 Genji?
For both.
99%.
For
both.
both finals.
Both summer and
Oh.
spring. No,
Ooh.
spring. I'm with you.
90%.
It's
For
90%,
both. For
right?
both, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be pretty happy with a 94.7.
Yeah, I'm going to
For
go like
spring and summer.
95.2, yeah. And look, I don't want it.
We're 0.5
I don't
away.
want it.
We should have just agreed.
I mean, you
go
told
with
us
that.
I
your
know,
dream.
I don't want it. I don't think. I mean, does anyone want that again for like the every
No,
single
but
time?
think of all the
Are we
stats.
gonna have any development
Do
in
you know
our
how-
region?
Do you want?
Can
do
we
you want
have
the cope?
that?
Do you want the cope? You want a dose of the cope? Team on one side of the rift will be slightly different.
What?
Yeah, because
Because
Genji is
Canyon's
different.
now in the jungle.
Yes,
you know?
Canyon and Keen.
And it's so different in the bottom lane. Lahens, he's never played. Oh,
They already
hang on.
did the slightly different Genji thing. They already did that. They
already
won the
changed
whole
it just a little
year,
bit.
and then they won anyways. And then they already did like
but that's
slightly
why-
different Genji storyline. We
Yeah,
already
that's
did
why
that one.
spring is so exciting.
And then they went to MSI, and then I don't remember what happened.
Ruler's leaving. Surely it would be different. There's just a new guy coming in there, and he has no experience. They definitely won't go straight to the finals and railroad it and steal Doran's MVP away. No, that won't happen. Pace won't do it.
We were pissed off about that MVP.
I mean, how many is it in a row? Is it now? Actually, is it just
Since 2022.
Four?
Yeah, 4.
4?
Because
in a row?
in 2021, DK was still relevant. So they were in finals.
Yeah,
I think
2021.
one was against Genji and the other one was against T1, if I remember correctly. In that
Yeah,
year.
Yeah,
DK won
I'm
both,
pretty
yeah.
ready to draw
Yeah,
the
they did.
line at 5. Okay, after that, I'm gonna have to ask some teams to step up.
It's
Or I'm gonna
happening.
actually ask
5 years?
T1 or Genji to like
Yeah.
have a roster collapse or something. You know,
It's not happening.
No, yeah. Well, I mean,
What if Delight is the consistent piece? What if it's Holland Life Esports?
Could
What
be.
if he
I
just
think.
wins?
what
Han-
if Peanut is the guy that wins domestically?
No, yeah,
honestly.
no. Hanwha to me is the one. Like I obviously you can have a miracle run of DK KT. Like we can talk about it, we can see how it would happen, but I do think there's a lot of caveats. I think Hanwha is good enough. Just about how do they do in the
Yeah,
meta.
no, what day is it? That's what you. That's the only question. Is it a Doran day? If it's a Doran day, they win, 100%. And I think like Peanut also can have those days as well.
There's okay. You
Like, what side of the bed are they
you're
getting
not,
out?
Yeah, you're not specifying which type of Doran or Peanut day. Because I've seen
That's
very
what I'm
different.
saying.
Which type
That's what
of
I'm saying.
day?
So I'm saying like if like so
that's yeah. He's saying like,
Yeah.
is it which Doran day is it?
Yeah,
Is it
no,
domestic
exactly.
or international?
Well, it's not. It's domestic because
Yeah.
it's domestic. That's why we're talking about the domestic
If you say
final.
it's Doran's day or it's not Doran's day. Like,
Yeah.
maybe we can-
Yeah.
Is it
Doran-
Peanut's day or
Doran-
it's not Peanut's
As
day?
soon as Doran is outside of Korea, he doesn't have a day anymore. The day's gone. Doesn't exist. Peanut definitely doesn't have a day outside of Korea.
Worlds also happened in Korea.
Wait, sorry, outside of Seoul.
There you go.
Okay.
Outside of Seoul. Yep.
Yeah, because the part that happened inside Seoul, it was all right.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. As soon as we had to figure it out in Busan, we were screwed. The kimchi
fell.
tastes different. Ah!
I know we never really talked about this, but I'm still tilted about the fact that they didn't just get 3-0'd and just let it go. Just lose 3-0. Why did they have to almost reverse sweep?
Yeah.
I'm pretty tilted about when they didn't win 3-0 in Worlds back in 2021, and then we ended up sending a different team to the finals that wasn't a Korean team, and
Yeah, I
they
remember-
ended up winning that
I
tournament.
remember that.
Remember BDD's Syndra? The beginning was good, and remember the bad part?
Dude!
Yeah.
And on that note,
Remember the
Now that
Renekton and
we've
the
ruined
Azir?
Valdez, you sign out. I'm not doing
All
it.
right. It's me, Atlas. It's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for walking the PogState.
Walking the dogs.
Walking the Pog dogs. No, I can't do this. You have to do
All right, thank you so much for watching, guys. That's going to do it. All the memes aside, this is going to be a crazy round 2. I'm hoping that we do get some of the surprises, and I'm hoping that some of the hopes and dreams do come true, mainly mine. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time for more PogState, and probably tomorrow for the LCK.